Under pressure. We've been talking about this for the last couple of weeks. We've gone through the book of Philippians, but I just want you guys to let you guys know that I've been under a lot of pressure lately. On Monday, it was really nice on Sunday and Monday, and just like the sun was shining, grass was growing, and actually I was walking to class and the mowers started driving all over campus. They're just mowing the lawns like crazy, and like I have allergies, and I'm walking to class and I'm just getting, I know what it's like to be under pressure because my head is about to explode. I was like, I walk into my class and I'm just crying because my tear ducts are just gushing because the pressure is so great, and I'm just like sitting there watching this movie, and I'm like, oh, people are probably thinking I'm getting emotional over this, and I don't even care about this movie. And so I'm just trying to cope with it. And so today I wake up and I have no voice at all. I'm just shot, scratchy, I can't even talk. And so I'm working in the area, and Dawn, she says, well, I got this for you. It's gonna be nasty, but it'll help your throat. And so I said, okay, whatever. So she puts like this much pepper at the bottom of a styrofoam cup. Then she puts salt in there, and then she puts vinegar in there. Then she puts hot water into it, and she's all right, gargle this. And so I'm like, all right, I'm desperate because I really couldn't talk. So I do it, and not kidding you, I just start talking right afterwards, and I'm like this. Still not very clear, but it's better than what it was. So just bear with me if I have to grab a drink of water. So I just say that to you. But why is pressure so bad? Sometimes I think it can be a good thing. I mean, we all have blood pressure. if we didn't have blood pressure, how could we like walk around? Like, how would our blood pump through our whole entire body? What about tire pressure? I think that's good too. I mean, it keeps you running down the road smoothly. And like, I've noticed what pressure does for me as being a barista, because I exert pressure down every time I pull a shot for someone, because you gotta put all the coffee in the little basket thing, and then you gotta press down. What you do is you put 5 pounds of pressure first, you tap it, and you bang it on the thing, and then you put 30 to 40 pounds of pressure and spin it around, and then you can pull the shot. And so it's kind of like this really technical thing, but we need pressure in order to do that. And so, but obviously pressure is not all the same. I can fill up my bicycle tire, which I brought to show this. The directions say to fill this up to about 120 psi, which is pressure per square inch. And so, air pressure per square inch. And so, that's a lot of pressure. But then, if you go to your car, you're only supposed to put about 30 pounds of pressure. So like 1/4 of what I actually put into this. But we can see that my tire there is a lot different than my tire in my car. And so you use this thing, and it has a dial on it. And so if you pump it, it tells you how much pressure you have. And so many times in life, there's things like we connect our lives. If our life was a tire, if you put in a bunch of pressure, it's just normal life. There's pressure throughout life, and it's good because honestly, if we didn't have pressure, sometimes we get stuff done. If Alan wasn't sending us internship emails about getting our assignments done, would we be able to get those done and graduate on time? And so it's like, no, sometimes we need that accountability, sometimes we need those deadlines, sometimes we just need to have pressure in our lives to function. And honestly, if I'm being completely honest, I was sort of pressured into asking my girlfriend out on a first date. And because I wasn't feeling it at first, I was really nervous. And I'm like, I can't do this. But one of my friends pressured me into doing it. She said, you gotta do this. This is your opportunity. And I'm indebted to that friend for the rest of my life, hopefully. And so, I just say all this to say is that sometimes pressure isn't that bad. And it's true for the car as well, because if you don't know, if you don't have the correct tire pressure in your car, then your tires are going to wear out. That's going to cost you money in tire repair, but also they say that you can save up to 6 cents per gallon if you have the right amount of pressure in your tire. And so for me, I kind of figured out, I mean, that's like $30 a year. That's $30 a year that I'm just throwing into the air pressure into my tires if I don't have it. I mean, I could go to 3 movies by myself or 1.5 with a friend. And so it's like, I'm a college student. $30 is important to me. But today, I want to talk, the title of my sermon is called Perfect Under Pressure. And sometimes we experience circumstances in our lives that that put too much pressure on us. Just like if we were going to fill this tire up to like 140. Like we're just pumping, we put too much in it than it needs to, and then we get on the road on a bike, and then you get a flat tire, and Alan probably knows this, but flat tires are just, they ruin everything, especially if you don't have like a car behind you supporting you like on the Tour de France, which most people don't. So you got to get over on the side of the road, you have to go like change the tube, bring it all out, put a patch kit on it if you don't have a spare tube, and then put it back in. It's a long process, and it can really ruin a bike ride. And so it's like, when we put too much pressure in our lives, so many times like our lives might explode, or they might go flat, like with our attitudes, or with our friendships, with our relationships, with our assignments, you know, with our health even. Like I'll be honest, this semester has been way too much pressure. I went on some trips that were extracurricular than the already trips I was doing for class, and it put a lot of pressure on me. I had a lot of assignments to do, and I had to stay up really late to get these things done. And I've probably been sick for the last month, just with cold, cough, everything. And so you can see that our lives are supposed to be lived with a certain amount of pressure, but not too much. If we go too far, we can hurt ourselves. Oh, if we don't put enough on us, then we're going to be kind of apathetic little wimps. And so, but I think perfection, when we're talking about the sermon today, perfection is today sometimes a little misguided. We hear statements like this all the time: no one is perfect. I don't want a perfect person, I want a real person. That person is not genuine. All he acts like is he's perfect all the time. Sometimes we actually try not to be perfect so that we might impress someone with our humbleness. And so Aristotle thought of perfection in 3 ways. He said perfect is that which is complete, which contains all the requisite parts. Another thing he said, perfect is that which is so good that nothing of the kind could be better. And then he said, perfect is that which has attained its purpose. According to that model, no person can ever be perfect. Look at us. People are not complete. We have problems. We have a lot of problems. Some people are angry. Some people are too happy. Some people get so frustrated with things, and some people just don't care about anything. But then we also, if we look at the second thing, there's always somebody who's going to be better than me at something. Brent is a lot more funny than I am. Michael has a way better laugh than I do. David is really good at technical things more than I am. And so we see that I'm never going to be perfect at everything. There's always going to be this thing that's going on. And so also we're graduating college people, so our purpose, our life purpose, probably still has not been found yet. Hopefully we've been able to think about that and start living our lives in that way. But hopefully none of us has fulfilled our entire purpose already. We want to keep gaining towards that thing. We don't want to be done at the age of 20 and say, oh, the rest of my life is just history. Whatever I want to do, like, that's what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. But then there's Jesus, and we see that he is perfect. He was complete. No problems with his character, no problems with his attitude. He was just perfect. There's no other human who could be better than him. Because he says that he'd said that he's never committed any sin. And so no other human is going to be able to match that or come close to it. And the last thing, his purpose was to die and rise again so that all people could find salvation in him. I think he fulfilled his purpose. If he didn't, then why are we sitting in this room training to be doing this for the rest of our lives? And so we have the verses that we're reading today in Philippians talk about perfection in a unique way. It kind of contradicts what we think of perfection nowadays as being just like this thing that is not really attainable, that like we don't even want it because it's so far out there. And I think a lot of people have that thing with Jesus, like, he can't be totally perfect. If he's human, he had been messed up a couple of times. And for some people, that's a crutch. And so if you want to turn with me to Philippians 3, we'll read over some verses. But we heard from last week from Nicole, it talked about how Paul saw himself as not being perfected. How we must always look forward to heaven, and we must always be pressing on for the prize that Christ has for us. And Derek even talked about it today, about how we cannot just live our lives trying to do this, this, and this, and trying to attain something. Because it's not about that. It's about our heart. It's about the inside of us. And so many times we kind of get all these things jumbled together, and we get so confused and misguided about what perfection is and how unattainable it might be. And so before we read this, I want to just close our eyes And imagine, so